They say that when Pius XII was considering declaring this dogma, and the word dogma is just a word, it's one of those, oh, I'm afraid of dogmas, it just means teaching. This teaching of the church. That one of the reasons that he did it is that it was right after the World War II, in which 80 million people perhaps died. 80 million people worldwide died. 50 million civilians. Far more civilians died and were wounded and were broken, and then those in combat. And he was so brokenhearted and horrified by the carnage to the human soul and to human bodies. So many people broken, wounded, died of diseases that they didn't even die in the war, but they died from the diseases and the brokenness and the heartbreak after the war. And one of the reasons they say that he wanted to declare this teaching of the church is that he wanted to put the heart back into human life as people were trying to heal from this world war and from the awfulness of the Nazis as it became more and more clear, the incredible atrocities committed by the Nazis. And so this was a time when the church realized that Nazis needed to be defeated. What was happening in the eyes of the church is that Nazis had basically said that human life has no more value than the life of cattle. We slaughter cattle, we can slaughter human persons. We make slaughterhouses for cattle, we can make slaughterhouses for people, and we can kill them with no more value. They have no more value than cows and pigs that we slaughter. And the church had to stand against that. It had to resist that, and it had to hold up another value that said, no, no, no. People are worth infinitely more than that because they share in the infinite. They share in the infinite value of God. And that the human body was to be reverenced and cared for and not butchered and shot and bombed and broken and killed as if it had no value. That the human body needed to be reverenced because it was the temple of the Holy Spirit. And so they say that that's one of the things that was in the heart of Pope Pius XII around this great feast. And so we still need this feast. We still need this feast. It's incredibly important to us. In our gospel, Mary talks about the fear of the Lord. What's the fear of the Lord? The fear of the Lord is not the kind of fear that we have when we're afraid somebody's going to hurt us or when we're watching a scary movie. The fear of the Lord is a low-level anxiety that we're going to hurt the holiness. I don't know have you ever held a baby? Anybody here ever held a baby? I hope everybody's held a baby. If you've held a baby, you know what the fear of the Lord is. You know what it's like to hold that little baby and to feel the anxiety in your heart that you might do something that could hurt something so holy. And all of a sudden, all of your behavior changes. Your voice lowers. The anger goes out of your voice. Big, tough, rough guys who would maybe use swearing, they would maybe swear, all of a sudden they're watching their language. Your movements you become more aware and careful of your movements. And it's because that's what the fear of the Lord is like. The fear of the Lord is to know, they become aware that you're in the presence of holiness, and there's that little, there's that little anxiety. I don't want to do something that would be disrespectful to something so holy. And can you imagine? Can you imagine what our life would be like? What the world would be like? if we had that attitude towards all of the people around us. The Pope in his own homily this morning had just come earlier in the day from a house where they were rescuing women who were being trafficked and sold and abused. And he talks about this, that we can't do this to the human body. We can't do this to women. We can't do this to children. We can't do what we do in war, where we destroy people and tear them apart. This is spiraling downwards. It's not spiraling upwards. It's not a civilization. It's not a country. It's not a church. It's not a people who were spiraling upwards and making progress when we do that. When we do that, we are spiraling downwards. And so this is an incredibly important feast, because we have to keep it clear in our minds what is progress and what is decline. When are our families spiraling upwards? And when are they declining and spiraling downwards? When is our church making progress? And when is it declining? When is our city and our neighborhood? When is our country and our world? When are they spiraling upwards and making progress in the Lord? And when are they beginning to spiral downwards and they're in decline? And so one of the ways I think that we need, one of the things we need, one of the things that this feast offers us is we need to be able to imagine once more what progress looks like. Because I think we've forgotten a lot of what progress looks like, and I think we have gotten to the place where we can't even imagine what real progress would look like in some of the areas of our lives. Can we imagine what it would look like if we could put the heart back into politics in this country? Have we gotten to the place where we couldn't even imagine what that would look like? If we can't imagine what it would look like to put the heart back into politics, where both parties are working for the common good of God's people everywhere, if we can't even imagine what that looks like, isn't that decline? Isn't that spiraling downwards? If we can't even use the fantasy and the imagination that God has given us to imagine what it would look like for us all to work together for the common good of God's people, to raise the level for all people in the world. If we can't imagine that anymore, that's decline. And a part of what this feast is about putting the heart back into our lives, putting the heart of Mary and the heart of Jesus Christ back in our lives, so we can imagine once more what it's like to put the heart into our politics. What if we were to put the heart into our science? What if we were to put the heart back into science, and we could end this crazy, silly, popular war between science and religion? We would realize that they're not opposites, that they're about a different kind of language, science, or a different kind of knowledge. Science is about a kind of knowledge that's gained through experimentation and looking at all the data and trying to find the best possible explanation for the data. Science is not about ultimate truth. Science doesn't even claim true scientists, real scientists don't claim ultimate truth. They know what they're doing is getting the best explanation possible for the data. And that could change if more data comes to light. But that's not what religious knowledge is about. Religious knowledge is about the kind of knowledge that a person has when their heart is in love. It's the knowledge that comes from falling in love with God. It's the knowledge that a person has when they have fallen in love with someone who is divine. And we know that that's a kind of, that people who are in love see things they see the world differently than people who are not in love. Right? People who are in love, they see a person that anybody else sees. They see the And I see the empirical data, the same empirical data that I'm seeing here with Julie. But I know, Julie, you're out there running around town and lots of people see you. But I know, I see things about Julia that they don't see when they look at her, because I love her. And if you love somebody and you are in love with somebody, you know nobody can see what you see when you look at this little girl. They're seeing all the same empirical data, but they don't see what the eyes of your love see. They can't. And so that's the knowledge that religion brings to us, the knowledge that we know happens when you love somebody. You get a kind of knowledge of them that's not the sort of knowledge that is merely logic and reason, and you can't find it in an algorithm and you can't put it in a test tube. It is only known by the heart. And those are two different kinds of knowledge, and they can work together. Have we gotten to the place where we cannot even imagine science and religion working together to make the world a better place for all people? Then we need to start imagining. Because if we can't imagine it, that's the decline. That's a lack of progress. And we're at the place where we have to use our imagination and fantasy to even imagine it anymore. Are we at the place where we can't even imagine a better economy? Where we can't bring the heart? Can we even imagine what it's like to put the heart of Jesus and the heart of Mary back into the economy? Or have we gone to the place where we can't even imagine what that would look like? We need to say 100 years from now, if we could really love Jesus Christ and Mary and put their hearts back into our economy, what could it look like? Are we able to even imagine that? Of what it would look like if we could say it is about the common good, and the common good means the good of all people. And I'm sorry, it does not mean America first. The common good of America is a contradiction in terms, because the common good means everybody. It means all of the children of God worldwide. And if we can't imagine, if we can't even use our imagination and imagine what an economy would look like, where people in business, they've got an economy that really, they got a going concern and it's making money, but they've stopped the craziness of saying, I'm going to make some money so I need to make some more money so I can invest some more money so I can make some more money so I can invest some more money so I can make some more money so I can invest some more money so I can make some more money so I can invest some more. Man does not live by bread alone. That's not how we have an economy that makes it better for everyone, that lives by the heart of Jesus Christ. I love this feast for many reasons, and this is one of them. It tells us we need to imagine what it would look like if we put the heart back into all of our lives. What if we could put the heart back into our conflict? Boy, there's something that we have lost. What would it look like? Can we imagine what it would like that you and I would be able to have a conflict? We'd be able to argue about something, but we could put a heart in it. This is what it would look like. Is that when we have a conflict, if we disagree about something, the first thing we would know is, it is a question. Does this call me to a deeper conversion? I'm having a conflict with you. Is it calling me to a deeper conversion? Do I need to fall in love with God more deeply because of this? Do I need to fall in love with God more deeply in my intellect so that I am more absolutely devoted to the truth, no matter which side it's on? And that I can admit to you when you've got a good point and you could admit when I've got a good point, because we're devoted to the truth, not winning. And we could ask when we're in conflict, is this calling me to a deeper moral conversion? to do what is right because it's right, because it's right, because it's right, and not because it makes me look good, it makes my party look good, it makes my group look good? Can we even imagine anymore what it's like to put the heart back into our lives together with one another? I don't think we can imagine very well. So I invite us on this feast to take the invitation of this feast, to begin to put the heart back into things, and to use our imagination to see what that would look like, so that we can stop being dragged down by a culture that is spiraling downwards in so many ways. And we can become part of the answer of what spirals upwards